Olá, estamos aqui com o Mário da Vostu e vamos conversar um pouquinho sobre os jogos sociais e sobre os novos projetos da empresa. Mário, can you tell me about the future of Vostu? What is your main objective besides growing? And which kind of where do you see the company in a few years from now?
Mostly more fun for more people, I would say.
That's great.
You know? So really, anything we can get into that creates like an element of entertainment, an element where people can enjoy games or whatever it is. Really, we love dealing with. Really, very concretely though, we're bringing out new social games. We just brought Mania out a couple of days ago, which is a very different game from the typical games that social games produce. It's a multiplayer game. It's real time. It's more arcade, very fast paced, and so on. That's one different direction. We'd like to do more in that direction, more on the arcade side, really. We have another game coming out in about 3 weeks. Hopefully, I have to go back to the office now to keep finishing, keep working on that, which is more of a multiplayer MMO almost, multiplayer role-playing game basically. Very social version of a very sort of like a casual version of a more complicated fantasy role-playing game. Again with a couple of really innovative and new ideas in there. The way you're going to fight with monsters is going to be really interesting. Can't say too much about it just yet.
Can you tell us the name though?
It's called most likely Flying Castles.
Wow.
But it's not entirely clear even yet either. We're still kind of like designing that at the moment, but that is the game we're leaning towards. The storyline is written and everything. Typically the last 3 weeks of a game production are incredibly intense in terms of taking lots of pieces that we've created on the art side, on the storyline side, on the technology side, and really fitting them together. Now is about the time when we see the game in action for the first time. We can actually look at it and play it, and previously we were only playing prototypes and so on. And you see the game on the screen as it will look to the user. And so that is typically the time when we start making many decisions and just cutting stuff, putting stuff for later and so on. So really, future of Vostu, more games, more fun, more games in different directions like casual, like role-playing games, and certainly also mobile games. We have one mobile game coming out now in the next 2 weeks that I personally love a lot. It's a puzzle game. It will also have a social impact as well, like a social component as well. Will be on Android and on iTunes as well, in the App Store. And we will go more in that direction as well.
Do you see the iOS and the Android? We know there's a lot of great social games there.
Yeah.
But what can you see that your company can bring to this table? What difference can you make on these markets? It also already has NG Moco and other stuff. Other people doing freemium content.
It's an excellent question we ask ourselves as well, right? Like, why should we be doing mobile games if we know how to do social games but we don't know anything about mobile games really? Well, one thing is arcades and more casual gameplay is still what has been winning in mobile. Right? If you go look at the top games in Android, if you go look at the top games in the iPhone store and so on, almost all of them are things like Cut the Rope, Fruit Ninja and all these kind of things. Right? Angry Birds, of course, the prime example, exactly. Simple, casual gameplay that is presented to you in a very nice way and that you can pick up very quickly, even in the subway, whatever. Good graphics, nice little storyline, Angry Birds didn't have a storyline really, but it had very strong characters, right? So strong that you can sell them really, exactly, right? And so that is a competence really. that is a competence really that we're now building more and more through, for example, the stuff we're doing with Mania, which is much more fast-paced, arcade and so on. Right? So if you will, we're doing things in the social game space that will help us understand the way people engage with their mobile phones in a better way. The second thing I do think is important is social, really. Right? There have not been that many games on the iPhone or Android that are really like more heavy-duty social games. Right? The Storm 8 games, for example, are a little bit in that direction. Right? They are sort of like versions of existing social games, but on the phone you can't play them if you're offline. And so I think it will move in that direction, particularly if you can solve the whole offline-online thing issue in a better way. You know, if you can play these games offline, it connects back online, you can still play with your friends, more powerful, you know. Particularly in a country like Brazil, where data flat rates and so on are still more expensive than, you know, in the US, almost anywhere in the world really, right, compared to the US. So we might be doing something in that direction. What we did in that direction already is, if you go to Mini Versender Café Mania, you actually have a very simple web-based version, like a feature phone version of the games, where all you can do is harvest your fruits and your dishes and whatever, and place new crops and things like that. You know, very, very simple. You can play it if you have a very old Nokia phone, no Java, just directly to the browser, you know. Very lightweight, and that is interesting. We've seen that in China a lot. Tencent and QQ builds extensions in sort of like feature phones for the existing sites. We just did this a couple of weeks ago, and now we see it grow, and so that's an interesting version, interesting way to go as well.
Okay. Do you think that the mobile markets can really get as bigger as the social game for you guys, for Vostro? In the future? Not in the near future.
Yeah, I think it will. What will happen is that the mobile market will catch up to what the social market is today. But in the meantime, the social markets will continue to move towards computer games. You know, so like what you really see in all the social games on Facebook or Gucci, wherever, is the complexity is growing. You know, when we bring out our new game now, the role-playing game, it will be by far the biggest game we ever built. It has about, I think, 2,000 art assets or so in the game from the beginning. It has different characters, different storylines, lots of things written, you know, from the beginning. It really goes more closely towards a computer game than ever before, you know. So mobile will catch up, but social in the meantime will also extend in different directions.
Do you think that you guys are ever going to plan to build a game for consoles or maybe the computer?
I think it is a question. It is a question we always ask ourselves as well. I think for the computer, probably not. You know, not in the near future. But the other thing that's happening there is computers are going more and more in your living room. Right? Yes. Like, I mean, it's been a long, long time coming. Right? 10 years ago, I remember I was working for McKinsey, a big consulting firm in Europe. We were consulting with like the European mobile operators and online, like the big ISPs and so on, right? And they, back in those days, were all trying to get into the user's living room through like set-top boxes and so on. Never happens, you know. Today you have Apple TV, Google TV. It's still not happening. You know, it's integrated, but it's still not a big, you know, user base that has this stuff. But it's inevitable that this will come eventually, and it will grow more. And I think that's a logical place where we will be next. You know, I do think that a place like the new Nintendo console coming out, where you have the TV thing and like a thing, exactly, that is more along the lines of the gameplay principles we understand, we think, and so we could maybe do something in that direction.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been great talking to you.
No problem. No problem at all.